My broccoli and cheese casserole with Ritz crackers recipe is easy and delicious. I'm making some changes to the classic recipe because I want it to be a little bit healthier. Most versions of this casserole call for a can of condensed soup, which I don't like. I think it gives things an odd aftertaste, as well as a good amount of mayo, which has a lot of calories. I think you're really going to like my version because I'm using sour cream and onion soup mix. So along with the broccoli and the cheese, this casserole is going to be great. Here I have 24 ounces of frozen broccoli that I cooked. I'm using 1.5 16-ounce bags. What I did is I microwaved the broccoli one bag, and then I did the other bag, but I realized it was too much broccoli, so then I just used half of the second bag. 5 or 6 minutes per bag, covered on high in this bowl, and it was fine. It's cooked, but it's not mushy. It's going to go into the oven, so you want it to be cooked. I would not put it in frozen because I think it might not cook all the way through, but at the same time, you don't want it mushy. The same concept as macaroni and cheese. You want to cook the pasta, but if you cook it too much, it's going to be mushy. Then I went through with my knife, and if there was a broccoli floret or a piece of a stem that was a little on the big side, I just took my knife to chop it up. I still want this to look like broccoli, so I didn't chop it into super fine pieces, but I did want to cut up the big pieces. I'm also going to add some cheese, 1 8-ounce block of sharp cheddar. I think you could use a lot of things. I'm going to use an egg for binding, 1 medium onion. It was about 2/3 of a pound. I just sauteed it for 5 minutes over medium heat with about a little under a tablespoon of butter and 2 teaspoons, maybe 1 tablespoon of canola oil. Like I said, I'm making this cheese and broccoli casserole without soup because I don't like the aftertaste. So instead, I'm going to use some sour cream. I'm using fat-free. I'm probably going to start off with 1 cup, 240 grams. That may or may not be enough. I'll let you know. And 1 packet of onion soup mix. I'm also going to add half a teaspoon each of black pepper, onion powder, and garlic powder, as well as a dash of salt. And then I have some Ritz crackers. I believe that's 3.5 ounces, it's just under 100 grams, that I'm going to crush on the top. If you want to, you can crush the Ritz crackers and mix them with melted butter, but I want this to be a healthier version, so I'm just going to sprinkle them on top, and I think that'll be fine. The first step is to mix together the sour cream and the broccoli, so I'm going to do that first. I used my food scale, measured out 1 cup, 240 grams, and now I'm going to add in the broccoli. I like to use my food scale for a lot of things because then I don't have to dirty a measuring container. I literally just put the bowl on top of the scale and add whatever ingredient I'm measuring. I think it's easier. I'm just going to stir to combine. As you can see, where I had the broccoli, there's a little bit of moisture. There's going to be some moisture in this broccoli regardless, but you don't want to make it wet. You don't want to have too much water, so I recommend mixing this in a bowl that is different from the bowl in which you microwave the broccoli, or the bowl in which you store the broccoli while it comes back down to room temperature. Now that the sour cream is thoroughly mixed in, it's time to add the onion, 1 medium onion, along with the cheese. Now that the cheese is mixed in, it's time for the onion soup mix as well as the other spices. I'm leaving the egg until the end so that I can taste the casserole as I add the spices to see if I need to add more. That's what I always do. When making a casserole, I think it's best to leave the egg for last so that you can try it as you're mixing it and adjust the seasonings. The spices are already mixed in. I tasted it, and honestly, I'm pretty impressed. It's turning out to be better than I thought. However, it's not quite as creamy as I would like, so I am going to add some more sour cream. Notice how I put the container on the scale. I zeroed it out. So I'm going to add in 120 grams, which would be half of a cup. So I know, actually I'm going to do 1/4 of a cup first. You can always add more later. Now I know I've added 60 grams or 1/4 of a cup. Now I'm going to mix that in and see how it looks. I also added a dash of salt. I like how this tastes. So now I'm going to add in my egg. Crack it in here first. Sure it's good. Yes, it is. Give it a quick stir. And then I'll pour it in and mix it in. I'm doing this as my oven is preheating to 350 degrees Fahrenheit. Now that the egg is mixed in, I'm going to pour the broccoli and cheese into a buttered 8x8 casserole dish. I added the broccoli, cheese, sour cream, and onion soup mixer to the casserole dish, and then I smoothed it out as best I could. Now I'm going to take my Ritz crackers, crush them, and spread them over the top. I am using 3.425 ounces, so just under 3.5 ounces. I bought a 13.7 ounce box of Ritz crackers, and it had 4 rolls inside. I am using 1 roll. That is about 100 grams. Now my broccoli and cheese casserole with Ritz crackers is ready for the oven. My broccoli and cheese casserole with Ritz crackers just came out of the oven. It was in uncovered at 350 Fahrenheit for 30 minutes. As usual, I wanted to try this as soon as it came out of the oven, but I managed to resist the temptation and wait for it to cool down. This broccoli and cheese casserole with Ritz crackers was delicious. Even though I made this casserole without cream of mushroom or cream of chicken soup, as most recipes use, it was still really creamy inside. The onion soup mix, which I use very often along with the extra spices, added flavor, as did the cheddar cheese. I also liked how the butteriness and crunchiness of the Ritz cracker topping contrasted with the creaminess of the casserole. Although this was definitely good, I wanted to point out 2 things. I normally like my broccoli to be cooked but still on the firm side because I don't really like soft vegetables. However, I think that microwaving this frozen broccoli for a couple more minutes would probably have been a good idea, because even though the broccoli wasn't hard, it wasn't quite as soft as it should have been. When I was developing this recipe, I imagined the creaminess of the sour cream and melted cheese combining very well with the soft broccoli. Although that did happen to some degree, I think that the broccoli was still a bit too firm for the two to come together perfectly as I had envisioned. The other thing that I wanted to point out is that although this was definitely good, it still tasted somewhat healthy. I guess you could use full-fat sour cream or maybe a canned cream of chicken or cream of mushroom soup if you want. So just know that as is, this recipe is delicious, but it definitely is a light version that isn't quite as rich as other recipes are. If you're looking to make it a bit more flavorful, I would add maybe a little bit of hot sauce, some basil, parsley, oregano, basically Italian seasoning. If you have some leftover shredded chicken that isn't quite enough for a full meal, I think you could definitely add it to this broccoli and cheese casserole with Ritz crackers and turn this casserole into a full meal. Although this broccoli and cheese casserole would be great for a Sunday dinner, Easter, Christmas, Thanksgiving, something like that, it honestly would be good at any time. As always, thanks for watching. See you next time.